Everybody,
He's right there.
it's Dusty Sage here at Disneyland, and it's the 100th anniversary of the Disney Company. Well, we all know that doesn't really happen until October, but Disney is starting to celebrate early because it helps sell tickets to the parks. And there's a lot for us to show you, including right here on Main Street, USA, and I'm going to take you to be one of the first people to go into the Disney Gallery, because instead of the Haunted Mansion exhibit, it's right now Disney 100 Years of Wonder, film to attraction and attraction to film. And I got to visit the other day with Kim Irvine, legendary Imagineer who put this together. And right here we're seeing some of our staff. We've got Natalie on merchandise. Natalie, there's been a lot of stuff. Nathan is going to be answering your questions.
Howdy.
Our friend Jeffrey is over here, and of course we have the man behind the magic, Matt, doing the technology on our live stream, and he does not like to be on camera. He's like, get me off the camera. I'm taking you in. Now, always here is this bench from Griffith Park. This is at the carousel. Walt would sit here on this bench while his daughters rode the carousel, and that's why there's also a carousel horse here. Gave him the idea of building Disneyland. Instead of Daddy sitting on the bench and waiting for his little girls, he would build an enterprise where children and their parents could ride together. And when you come in here, you'll see Disney 100 exhibit is not too fancy. They have this nice case and one other nice case, but mostly just these boards up here with concept art on them.
Whoa, he looks really weird without clothes.
Nathan says that Pinocchio looks really weird without clothes. Yes, he does, Nathan. Thank you for pointing that out. They do have a bit of the Haunted Mansion stuff still here, but that's about it. Over here on the wall, you have all sorts of concept art from various attractions in different Disney parks, because this isn't Disneyland's 100th anniversary. It's Disney's 100th, so it's the whole company. The Disney Company started in 1923, but Disneyland wasn't built until 1955. So we're seeing stuff from all over the place, and parks that were built after Disneyland even. You'll see some Epcot stuff, and we're hearing music in the Esplanade. I love the maquettes that they have. Various things. You have to forgive me, I'm using a stabilizer and it sometimes moves differently than me. Indiana Jones from the attraction there. See an elephant from the Jungle Cruise. King of Hearts. The Queen always wins. And then of course the ghosts from the Haunted Mansion. A few things in this exhibit that I really want to show you, though. I'm not going to take you and show you each thing because we have a whole video to do today. I just wanted to show you what's in here. You can explore it on your own. We'll probably have an article up on this for you in the next 24 hours or so. They took the old map of Disneyland that used to be right there in this window, and they replaced it with an animation studio. So you're seeing a multi-plane camera. They have a television screen in here. Walt's era. There's a storyboard in the back. And then down here, an animation desk. An interesting thing about this desk is that is a Kem Weber designed desk. So sort of a mid-century stream moderne style desk. They were custom made for the Disney Animation Studios. Really remarkable that they have an original one right here in the Disney Gallery for you all to see and take a look at. So definitely take a look when you come visit. Over here, more concept art, but what's in the back is what I want to show you. This is the old hag that used to be in the villain shop in Fantasyland when I was a kid. And she would beg you to let her out. She's got an apple in her hand and she's in chains there. But when I was a kid, you put the coin in, she would say, oh, I'm a good little old lady, wouldn't you let me out? And she'd beg you to let her out, and then when you don't, she gets angry with you and she starts banging her chains and desperately wants to get out. So gaslighter from way back. In the yesterday, today, and tomorrow case that we showed you on a previous video, they have updated it. So yesterday is mostly the same. Star Wars Galaxy's Edge was the tomorrow, it's now the today. And in the tomorrow space is Mickey's Toontown and also Tiana's Bayou Adventure. I would take a close look at that for you, but it's all the concept art that we already have in our articles. So if you just read the articles on Mice Chat, you'll see all that concept art and we explain it for you. Back here where they had the Steve Martin Walt Disney video from the 50th anniversary that was then extended until forever. They've replaced it with video of the Disneyland television special from 1955, and it kind of shows how they were putting Disneyland together for its grand opening in July of 1955. And you'll see them making wagon wheels and tending to horses and building things on Main Street. It's pretty cool. In the back of the gallery here, the Lincoln Theater remains the same as it was before, so nothing really new here, except there is something new coming. In the back here, you'll see Frederick Douglass is here, and he was added a few months ago, but on the screen where they used to show a video of Lincoln there, it's going to be updated at the first of the month for Black History Month with a video about Frederick Douglass and his relationship with Abraham Lincoln. And it'll be a neat little change. There's also another little Frederick Douglass touch that we will show you at the exit. So that's all I'm showing you of the exhibit right now. I do want you all to come back and see it for yourselves. And Samantha Davis Friedman is putting together a whole article for you. I was talking to one of the cast members earlier who said they'd never seen so many people in the Disney Gallery. Usually when you come in here, you're the only one in here unless it's a hot or rainy day. Oh, I am going to show you, I promised to show you one last thing, so I will do that now. Right here, before you get to the exit of the Lincoln Theater and the hat shop, is a really cool portrait of Frederick Douglass. It's right here, so just as soon as you enter, very beautiful, colorful portrait of him. So lots of things going on here at the Disneyland because today is the official start of Disney 100.
And that's why all these people are waiting to look at the new costumes of Mickey and Minnie.
So this gigantic line you see is not to get into a store or into an attraction, it's to wait for a character to pop out because Mickey's in his new outfit, which of course we've been seeing for the last couple of days at all the Mice Chat press events for the Disney 100. The other thing that has been getting a long line, although it looks like everybody has already seen this, and now they're waiting for Mickey across the way, but right over here is the gorgeous new Mickey statue in Town Square. So normally we would call this Christmas Tree Point. It's where the Christmas tree goes every year, and the giant Mickey pumpkin at Halloween time. But right now, it's a Mickey statue. It all started with a mouse. Hey guys, how are you?
It's Chris Provost.
Everybody wants to see the Mickey Mouse. It makes a great spot to take a family photo with Mickey and Main Street behind and the castle behind that. Of course, we've been showing you for a couple of weeks now the banners and bunting throughout the park for the 100th anniversary. A little earlier today, when the sunlight was out, these light up like a prism. They're every color and they're absolutely gorgeous. But as the sun sets, they just sort of fade out and become like gray. So right now, they do not look nearly as pretty as they did earlier. Nathan, did you finally get to see it with the daylight shining on it?
The bunting?
Yes.
Yes.
And they kind of catch the light and turn different colors.
That is not my interpretation of it.
Oh, what's your interpretation?
It looks very flat. The, we're talking about the same thing, right? What are you talking about?
I'm talking about these banners here and how by daylight they look super pretty to me. They catch the light, they almost look like metal, liquid metal, and it's like a prism, but at night they look gray.
Yes. I like the half circle bunting, the ones that look like the backside of a CD-ROM.
Yes.
Remember those?
Yes. Half the people listening to us have never heard of a CD-ROM, but yes, these are the ones you're talking about.
Yes.
The little CD-ROMs.
Yes.
Nathan's CD-ROMs. The banners of the future. We are just about at the spot where I watched the new fireworks show last night. What's it called again, Nathan?
Wondrous Journeys.
Wondrous Journeys. I was going to call it Impossible Dreams. But I was standing right here, and you can see the video right now on the Mice Chat YouTube. But when you're watching it, you'll see fireworks above the castle only on weekends and on holidays, because the rest of the week they're just doing projections. So is this a good spot? Well, sort of, because I could see projections on either side and fireworks ahead, but had I been just a little bit further back from where we are, I would have seen more of the projections on the buildings here. And there are certain spots that have more projections than others. So where you see a lot of windows, not a lot of projections. Where you see flat surfaces, they will have projections on either side of windows. And what I was seeing, just above the crystal arts here, that turns into a giant screen essentially. So this is a pretty good spot.
One thing, I will say I do like the new Wondrous Journeys. My gripe with it is that they pronounce wondrous wrong every single time. There's an added syllable. They say wondrous. It's wondrous.
Well, you mean they changed the number of syllables?
It's not their fault. I just assume that they don't have degrees in English.
They're publicists. Actually, it fits the song better. So Disney's always taken creative license with words. We're going to take a little detour towards the castle. It's been a little bit breezy, and I'm anxious to see if they've got the fountains on. Oh, I see them. They're definitely going. We're going to look at wait times because the park, you could not get reservations for today. It's booked solid, but it doesn't feel very crowded. And I noticed that a lot of the attractions had short waits. Pirates walked right into the queue. There was no extended queue at all. 30 minutes for Alice in Wonderland, 5 minutes for Autopia, 25 minutes for Buzz Lightyear, 30 minutes for Disneyland Railroad because they're only running 2 trains. Dumbo 20, Finding Nemo 15, Haunted Mansion Holiday still running through tomorrow, 45 minutes. And over here, Splash Mountain is 5 minutes. Now it's going away soon, folks. Time to ride. Space Mountain is 60, 40 minutes Matterhorn bobsleds. These are short waits. 15 minutes Astro Orbiter, 10 minutes Pinocchio's Daring Journey. Mark Twain Tiki Room are both just open, and of course, buy our magic bands. And then right over here, at the entrance to Tomorrowland, look at how the sunlight is collecting, or just the last vestiges of sunlight on the Matterhorn there. So we don't have any sunlight left at ground level, but just a wee bit of light at the top of the Matterhorn. Pretty sight. But we're going to keep walking right on past the entrance of Tomorrowland, where they still haven't delivered us our new entryway. And they're still showing us that concept art of the entryway that's coming, and has been coming for 3 years, and has still not arrived.
But they recently switched out the concept art for it.
Still with the same concept art. But this is what I wanted to show everyone, because we're walking right up on another statue about the same size as the Mickey one, and it's Minnie Mouse. A dream is a wish your heart makes. Oh, Minnie. Of course it is. Look at that. She's not lit well at night, so the light is below her, so when the park is dark and you don't have any light from above,
you have to keep it in the center of the video.
sorry, we're seeing something different than you are. I am landscape, but you all are seeing it in portrait mode. Unfortunately, we don't know why that's happening. Lots of people here in front of the castle, and are they here to take pictures, or is something going to happen?
I heard earlier today there was a 35-minute wait for photo pass in front of the castle.
Oh boy. So we're going to avoid that side. We're going to go over here. They promised us swans for the 50th or for the 100th anniversary, at least in the concept art. There are no live swans, folks.
Ondo asks, so the statues are like disco balls?
The statues are like disco balls. The Minnie Mouse one that I was telling you when Nathan was trying to explain to me that I had to keep everything in the center of the screen is lit so poorly that at night the light catches her mouth and it makes her eyes look evil. So she looks like she's evil, Minnie. How pretty this view is, everybody. How about that?
When you were asking me about the bunting earlier, I thought you were talking about this one.
Well, we'll talk about that when we get onto the bridge, and I'm just going to let these people take their picture, and then I'm going to head over, but I want you all to see the beautyosity of the castle with all the amazing things. Give me a second to walk through a crowd of people. But they have these banners everywhere. They're the same ones that change colors that you see on Main Street, same type of material, same color scheme, blue and purple. And as you walk towards, you'll see the 3 good fairies up there. In the concept art, they had color on them, but here they're just chrome illusion, color changing, iridescent fairies. A little bit hard to see. Sometimes they sort of blend in unless you're right up upon them. And the same with the shield. At night, there is a little bit of fiber optic magic going on that shield. So as we get closer, you should be able to see a little bit of it. But what Nathan is complaining about is that white banner there in the center, and then the ones on either side, to him, look like
toilet paper.
They look like toilet paper. So he thinks it's the 100th anniversary toilet paper banners.
And why
it's
did they have
okay
to
for
use
us all
it so
to disagree.
much?
I like it. I think because the castle is gray and a lot of the details are gray, they wanted to use white to set it off. They could have used something dark too, like purple. That would have worked as well.
But why isn't it iridescent? Like, why they could have used the same.
They could have used the
iridescent
because
material.
that's the same color as the shield. It all would have probably been lost. They should have used purple. But up close here, let's look at the fountain. The world is a carousel, a color, color, color. Wonderful, wonderful color.
That's not the song anymore.
Nope.
They changed it.
Yeah, it's something stupid. One drop creates a wave, but that one little drop, no inspiration. We did not like World of Color 1, folks. We won't be showing you that today. We do have a video up on our YouTube that you can see the show for yourself. It's not horrible, but it just left me feeling a little sad because it's the 100th anniversary of the Disney company, and they mentioned that Walt Disney was the spark of inspiration. He was that drop of creativity that caused a ripple, that created a wave. And they start with the quote of Walt Disney, and then instead of jumping straight to Walt's earliest films, which were groundbreaking for their time, Steamboat Willie, the first use of sound, Fantasia, and all the beautiful color, and the blending of live action and animation, or any of his incredible first full-length animated feature film, Snow White, not in there. They don't really have any of Walt's accomplishments in World of Color 1. Instead, they jump straight to about the last 25 years of the company, and you get to see Pocahontas and Encanto and Lion King and a little bit of Coco and Soul from Pixar, and then they do Star Wars and Avengers. And no Walt Disney, and then they end with a quote from Walt Disney, and that's it. That kind of made me sad.
I think it made you more than sad.
Be angry.
That is correct.
And a dusty, angered writes terrible things. So if you read the review, I am definitely on a soapbox. I'd like to think of it as more as constructive criticism because I appreciate the amount of time and energy and creativity that goes into making a show like that. And folks, it's not easy. It's not like one guy was told, hey, we want you to make a water show and, for the 100th anniversary. Someone comes up with an initial storyboard. They go into meetings where 100 people probably have a point of view, and then they make you change it, and then you go to another meeting, and then legal needs to take a look at it, and then all the different stakeholders, the diversity committee, everybody needs to take a look, and they all have to agree. And then merchandising gets involved, and they have to talk about whether or not they'll be able to sell popcorn buckets and colored popcorn, which they are, sippers, they got to make money on it. Then the food and beverage team talks about how they're going to do dessert packages, and it's really a lot of people that get involved. And at the end of the day, somebody probably said, well, if we cut all of that Walt Disney stuff out, we can just focus on the new stuff. That'll make Bob Iger happy because it's all the stuff that he did or he bought. So we see things from Pixar, Star Wars, and Marvel.
There's a question.
It's crowded right here, Nathan.
Ondo.
Yes.
Now that you've had your chance to air out your grievances about World of Color 1, do you have any complaints about Wondrous Journey?
Well, no, and
someone lost their underwear.
David just walked over some child's underwear. We don't want to run into that child in the park. Maybe it's this one that's riding on her father's shoulders. Ew. So I was going to save it for the end, but I'll tell you right now, I love Journeys. I think it's everything that World of Color 1 is not. It is exuberant, uplifting, happy. They don't present the old stuff in a way that makes you sad. They present it in a way that makes you happy, and you do see Snow White. And they do also some clever musical tricks. So you would never be able to do what they were attempting to do with that show, hello, in the 15 minutes that they allot. It's a show that is intended to feature every Disney animated film in the 100-year history of the company. Now that's a tall order in 15 minutes. So they do it through a couple of tricks. One, they use photo montages of characters on the buildings of Main Street. So if you're watching it from Main Street or in front of the castle, you'll see lots of different characters at the same time, but kind of the same era, kind of work their way through. And they also do vocal medleys. So instead of it being one song, sometimes it's 3 or 4 songs that are kind of interwoven in each other. And it might sound like visual and auditory chaos, and perhaps it is a little bit, but it is also effective and it works. And it keeps the show moving. It's fast-paced. It's a very quick, rapid progression from the start of that show to the end. With World of Color 1, by the time it was over, my feet were numb. I felt like I was going to pass out from standing still recording it. I was tired. I was ready for it to be over. But when Wondrous Journey ended, I was sad to see it go. I could have stood there for another 10 minutes. So that's the difference.
World of Color is like 25 minutes, and I think that Wondrous Journey is 13 or 14.
15. Mm-hmm.
We've got a question. How are the Main Street animated windows looking? Are they all working now?
No, sadly, Main Street animated windows are not all working. They are mostly all lit, but only 1 or 2 of them was working when I looked last night, and the Princess and the Frog window is still covered up. But there are some other new windows on Main Street, so depending on how much time we have when we finish this video, I'll walk you by. 5-minute wait for Small World. Not bad. 5 minutes, and just recently reopened.
There's a question about how this fireworks show compares to the 50th, which is largely considered the best show.
Well, the 50th fireworks show was the best show ever done. That's the one that focused on attractions, and they had different segments for different rides. So the Pirates of the Caribbean segment, there was a cannon battle between the Matterhorn and Frontierland, and Haunted Mansion section, they shot fireworks up from around the hub, creating a stretching room effect. And for Star Tours, there was lasers, and they announced the arrival of the Endor Express. That was magical. I'd say this is the second best show. Some of you may like it better.
They stay the night. They usually come for rope drop, and then a couple hours after lunch, they need to move. I didn't know they came apart.
So here we are at Toontown. We're here because today is also the opening of Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. So there are 2 ways that you can ride. One is to get a virtual queue spot. Easy to do. You open the Disneyland app, you click on virtual queue at 7 o'clock in the morning. And you need to have quick fingers because exactly at 7 o'clock, you can't wait a minute because they will sell out in about 10 seconds. So all the spots filled up in the morning. Then you get a second opportunity at 1 p.m. 1 p.m. they do a second opportunity. Same thing, but this time you have to be in the park to do it. So at 7 a.m. you could be at home. So 7 a.m. you could be at home, but at 1 p.m. you need to be in the park. We're telling this guy he couldn't take his lightsaber and no weapons. Holster that weapon. So those are the two ways to get in. We didn't get any spots today because we just weren't fast enough. Nathan overslept in the morning. He didn't get a 7 a.m. spot. And then for 1 o'clock, we weren't even out of the house yet. Look at how angry he is. He is horrified.
I will admit to the first one. I did not wake up for that one.
So you're seeing a lot of people right here, but you are not seeing a lot of people on the other side of the rope because virtual queue. So that is the first way that you can do it. So the virtual queue is keeping the line fairly short. Second way is the paid way. If you've got a lot of money burning a hole in your pocket, you can use Genie Plus, or it's not even Genie Plus really, it's the extra cost lightning lane. You don't even need to have Genie Plus for the day to do this. You can pay extra to ride just Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, but even that sells out. So have to do it all first thing. You have to do the extra cost lightning lane after you get into the park for the day. So as soon as you get here, try to buy that extra cost lightning lane. I just enjoy being in the park. I gotta tell you, it's extra pretty right now, but I did tell more than a few Disney executives that one thing I'm upset about is the number of burned out light bulbs everywhere. Here on the top of Fantasyland, Fantasy Fair Gifts, you see a ton of burned out light bulbs just at the top alone. I mean, I see like 8, and then on the lower levels, even more. It's not that hard to change a light bulb. The problem is the staffing issue. Disney doesn't have enough maintenance people, and leading into the 100th anniversary, they were all so busy working on attractions and big things that they let some of the little things slip. So we are seeing some problems with things like light bulbs. Now, overall right now, I would say the Disneyland experience definitely seems to be improving. So it all feels a little more magical right now. I do sense that there's some improvement in the spirit of cast members and the happiness of guests, but they still have problems with things.
Do you think that this is because of Bob Iger's return to the company?
Totally Bob Iger's return. So I talked to so many people over the last couple of days, and on the record and off the record, about all sorts of things. And one of the things that we discussed over and over again really was just how tight the budgets were under Bob Chapek, and they had to make decisions. And that stressed a lot of people out. A lot of people left the company not just because they were fired or forced to move to Florida, but also because they just didn't like the direction that the parks were going or how stressful it was to work here. But that seems to be changing. Now, their budgets are still very tight, but they sense that that's going to be changing soon. They're being asked to pitch projects that they haven't been asked to pitch in a long time. And it seems that Bob really wants to focus on satisfaction of the guests. So where they were looking at solely numbers before, how much money was each guest spending, they're now looking at different things. How satisfied are guests? How many rides are they able to ride? How happy are they when they leave the park for the day? How likely are they to recommend Disneyland to a friend? And those are all the kinds of things that you would be asking if you cared about guest satisfaction, but they haven't been asking for a couple of years now, and that they're asking again. So I sense that we are going to see a change, that it's going to take time. It's going to be a slow progression, but I definitely heard and felt that people understood that there's a problem, that guests are noticing the decline of Disneyland, that the prices have gone up, but the value for the price did not go up, and they want to address that. And so many people saying over and over again about happiness, guest satisfaction, not just for guests, but also for cast members. And that was a big deal. In fact, both of the events that we went to for the nighttime spectaculars, the one for World of Color and the one for fireworks, were really cast member previews that they allowed the media to also be there. And they had the cast members sit up front, and they had the media stand in the back. So they gave the best spots to the cast members. And some media were grumbling about that. I thought it was amazing. They were telling the cast members, feel free to share photos and videos and post about this, and please use the hashtag CastLife. Now, why would they be telling them to do that? because they want the friends of these cast members to see these cool things that they're doing, hashtag cast life, right? In the hopes that they will also want to get jobs at Disneyland because they're having trouble finding enough cast members still. It's definitely a tough labor environment. We're heading back around the park. I don't think we're going to go through Galaxy's Edge today because there's just nothing to see there. But as we pass by, I'm going to take a dig. And I took this dig at a really famous Imagineer who was involved with the new Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, which I loved. I love the new ride. I think it's one of the best things Disneyland has done in years because it's a family-friendly ride, not unlike you could imagine Walt Disney building. All ages, no height requirement. A baby can ride, a grandma can ride, everyone can ride, and it's fun for everyone. There's so much to see. I probably rode it 8 times in 2 days. And every single time I rode it was a different ride because it just has so much detail. And depending on where you sit in the train, you see different things happening in the ride. That's pretty cool, right?
It has a lot of repeatability to it.
Yeah, it has a lot of repeatability. So that was a great thing. So now getting back to Galaxy's Edge, what does Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway and Galaxy's Edge have to do with each other? Well, not a lot, except that they share a similar ride vehicle. The
Trackless ride
That's
vehicles.
right, trackless ride vehicle for the Rise of the Resistance and Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. So it's the same ride system. But the difference is that on the Star Wars version, they spent all that money on gigantic show building and sets and so forth, and didn't necessarily deliver to the fans the characters they wanted to see. So you don't see Luke and Leia and Han and C-3PO in that ride. Instead, you see the newer characters that not everybody knows. So
But you do see a whole room filled with static, or mostly static
stormtroopers, yes.
that you're quickly ushered through. They don't want you standing too long in there.
But on Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, the queue is just filled to the brim with every version of Mickey from the beginning to the end. So the old rubber hose Mickey from the very beginning, and the fat Mickey in the 40s and 50s and 60s, and disco Mickey from the 70s, and then Prince and the Pauper, and all the different versions of Mickey right up to the newest version, which kind of goes back to the original. It's sort of an anime rubber hosey kind of look. And then you get on the ride, and the ride is just a visual feast. So come down here and try and get a virtual queue, or pay if you have to, but ride that ride. I think you're going to love it.
Segueing from that.
I am going to talk about it really quick though, Nathan, because the other thing about Galaxy's Edge is Super Nintendo World just opened at Universal, and we've been talking about this a lot lately. And I kept bringing it up to people, and they kept asking me, how was Super Nintendo World? And I kept telling everyone, well, it's going to cause a lot of people to question why Galaxy's Edge isn't more interactive, because everything in Super Nintendo World is interactive. The whole land is a giant game, and the ride is a giant game. And then if you do well enough, you get to play another game to save Princess Peach and get her golden mushroom back. So it's sort of the things they had promised for Galaxy's Edge and not delivered. There's upbeat music. The second you walk in, you hear this upbeat digital sounding music, and it sets the tone and the bright colors and just the interactivity of it all, and the technology of it is incredible. Disney has work to do because they have to fix Galaxy's Edge. They just have to add in that extra layer of interactivity. And when I mentioned it to a senior executive that I felt there needed to be more entertainment in Galaxy's Edge, there needed to be roving bands and more characters like they have in Avengers Campus. And I didn't get a no, and I didn't get an excuse. I got a, we're looking at a lot of really fun enhancements to the parks and to Galaxy's Edge. So I think we're going to see a renaissance, folks, in the Disney parks. I do think that the team that is still around and hasn't quit or been fired, and the executives that are still around and trying to maintain their jobs, are looking at the things that we're all complaining about. So when people say, oh, Dusty, you're so negative, let me tell you, it is that negativity, not negativity, I don't want to call it negativity because I'm not negative. I'm
realism.
constructive. I am real about it. I try to be honest with you all, and not just Disney notices it, but I think when fans speak up and say, for the amount of money I spent, I expect to go into a restaurant. If it's $25 for an entree, I expect it to be edible. that is a reasonable expectation. Or if the menu doesn't have things on it you like, is it reasonable to complain? Of course it is. Especially when restaurant after restaurant after restaurant have tiny menus with not very much good food on it. So I do encourage you all to let the right people know, let a manager know, let guest relations know. Sometimes it is better to talk to a senior person in the parks, like a manager, rather than guest relations, because guest relations' job is just to make you happy and get you out. They don't necessarily talk to anyone who's going to fix the problem long term. They're trying to fix the short-term problem, which is keep you from screaming and yelling inside their guest relations center. So just a tip, but they're definitely noticing trends. A lot more surveys going out. If you take a survey, be honest in the section that asks you, do you have anything else you want to say?
The new popcorn bucket.
You always do. Oh, did that come out today?
Yes.
I like a shiny
A little
bucket.
more to the.
Sorry, I'm gonna get in there and show it. It's like a mirror. There it is. That's the platinum popcorn bucket. We've seen some of the other stuff coming out recently. They're the purple paper buckets, and then the plastic bucket next to it there. I mean, you're going to find platinum anniversary, 100th anniversary stuff everywhere. And Natalie was explaining to us that it's coming out in waves. So one line at a time, more or less by decade. So far, there haven't been a lot of knockout items, but a few very popular things have come and gone already. The liquid platinum ears, liquid platinum backpack from Loungefly. Some of those kinds of things came and went very fast. So here's what we're looking at over here. There is a huge construction wall. It stretches from Riverbell Terrace on our left, that's Riverbell, all the way across to Pirates of the Caribbean on our right. And then just behind it all is the Adventureland treehouse up there. And is this all linked? It absolutely is, because this pathway right there, it's walled off, stretches all the way up to the treehouse and would take you over to Indy to your left. Indy is down for a major refurbishment. Treehouse is, we don't know when it's opening, but they're hard at work on it. And that is requiring them to do a little work to the area, because there was a very steep incline to get from the shore down here where we are by the river up to where the treehouse is. So they're regrading that slope. I'm just going to show you Mark Twain. That noise you're hearing is the beautiful Mark Twain passing by. It's important to stop and smell the roses every once in a while. You've got to enjoy the scenery.
There's a question about Runaway Railway, and then an interesting comment about it as well. The question is, how long do you think that they're going to use a virtual queue system before it switches to standby?
Well, I did ask about that. We're going to have to go to our left because you can't get through Adventureland right now. It's completely blocked off from this side, so you have to go through Frontierland. So we have to do a little backtracking. It's okay because we wanted to go to Main Street anyway, so we're going to do this for you. Virtual queue will last as long as they need it. So as long as the demand remains incredibly high. Now remember, they did a virtual queue for Spider-Man for a while, but it didn't take too many months before they made it just a regular standby line, and they continued to offer Lightning Lane. Now at first it had a paid Lightning Lane on it, and then it just became a regular Lightning Lane. Right now the paid Lightning Lane at California Adventure is Radiator Springs Racers, which is an old ride. So they just kind of adjust based on how popular things are. I would suspect that because this ride is brand new, good for everyone in the family, getting great buzz, I'm going to think they're going to keep that virtual queue on it for quite some time. The other reason is because right now, Toontown is closed, so they just have a corridor open from like Small World Mall area to the ride, and then over by Roger Rabbit is sort of open. And sorry about that, avoiding a big group of people. So they have that area kind of scraped clean. They removed the Roger Rabbit fountain. They put down a fake grass lawn. And that allows them the ability to queue up some people there if they have to. But really, it's not that comfortable of a space to keep a lot of people. So they would rather you wander around the park and enjoy other things and eat and shop rather than waiting in a 4-hour line for a kiddie ride, right? So I think a virtual queue works for this attraction in particular. You're gonna like it much more if you wait 40 minutes than you would if you waited 3 hours.
There's a question if there's going to be not live stream, if there's going to be single rider for Runaway
I
Railway.
don't suspect that they're gonna do it. I didn't see any signage for single rider. I think it's gonna be hard enough for them to juggle the lightning lane and the standby and the disability line. There's a lot of lines for them to manage now. The other reason is it's largely a ride that kids are going to be riding, and very rarely would a kid be riding alone. So I think they're going to try and keep people together and not encourage them to split up just because of a line.
There's an interesting comment from Kathleen. Hi Dusty, hi Nathan, hi Mike. We got on Runaway Railway this morning. I loved the queue. I was in line wishing the line didn't move so fast. I wasn't able to actually ride it because it is not wheelchair accessible, but I can enjoy the queue.
That's great. And I will tell you though, think about how easy it is for you to transfer, because they do have the ability to pull a vehicle completely off the track, and you can take as long as you need to load. So if you have people that can help you get in and out, there is a step down into the vehicle. So it loads fairly flat, but there's a step down. So it could be hard for many people to get in and out. I will warn you about that in advance. But if you think you could take your time and steady yourself and get in and out, they have the ability to pull a vehicle off the track, and you could take 5 minutes if you needed to get in and out. So that is an option for you.
These are new balloons.
Oh, Disney 100 balloons. Nathan, I like these better than the generic ones with that enormous warning sticker on the back. Look at that. And they're in their new outfits. Can you tell, are those purple or blue
Those
jackets?
are purple. They're the Disney 100 outfits.
I like it. Well, what's not to like about a balloon other than the cost? How much does a balloon cost now? Can you ask for me?
Light up ones are $20.
A light up balloon is $20, folks. Wow.
Our friend Phyllis asks, "What's for dinner tonight, Nathan?"
Yeah, what's for dinner tonight, Nathan?
I'm gonna go back across the way over
What's
to.
happening here?
Wow, very
That's
shiny.
a big hat.
Over to Lunar New Year celebration.
What's that hat all about?
It's a new thing.
Gigantic hats?
Yes.
Oh, the world we live in is coming to an end. Giant hats have become a thing. Somebody please get me a ticket off this planet.
But I'm going to Lunar New Year Festival and getting some food there.
You know what, Nathan? Could you get me some garlic noodles?
That's as far as you're willing to go for adventurous?
I was raised in Kansas. That's the best I could do.
There's a question asking about the decorations for Disney 100. Is it all throughout the park or mostly limited to Main Street?
It's limited. Disney 100 decorations, for the most part, are Main Street USA and the Castle, the Esplanade, Downtown Disney, and Buena Vista Street. So that's where you're going to see the bulk of the Disney 100 decoration. There may be a thing or two here and there, but I, for example, was expecting to see Disney 100 banners on some of those original Disneyland attractions that Walt built, like the Mark Twain, the Golden Horseshoe Review. Even the Main Street Cinema should be a hub for Disney 100 activity, but it's the same movies playing in there. I mean, they are the original movies, like they're the perfect thing, but I was expecting them to do something to plus that up. Maybe put some seats in there, or remaster some of those movies, or put in a concession stand, you know, something fun for the 100th to plus up that old theater, because that really is how did Disney get started? Well, those old movies. So the actual start of the Disney company is the Main Street Cinema.
And then jump right into Pocahontas.
Well, only in World of Color. If you ask a 20-something-year-old Imagineer what Disney is all about, no, none of them know who Walt Disney is, you know? I mean, unless they're asked to research it. which I think they must have been for Disney 100 and for that show, and yet they only delivered us Pocahontas to today.
Like catalyst.
That's as far back as history goes, folks. I'm going to try and peek in some of these windows and see if there's any interesting merchandise, but we have just a few minutes left of this video. Let's see, expensive, potentially expensive jacket. They didn't even dress up this store for Disney 100, and this would have been a perfect one. It's Old Town, Marcelline-ish type of look. Really nothing interesting. What do you think about these Snow White ears, Nathan?
They're
oh my God,
cute.
this camera. Woo! When you use a stabilizer, you can't move fast. No fast movements.
I think that they're cute. I like that they're shiny. I love a good glittery thing.
They have the train working in the toy shop.
There's a question from Rick. There always seems to be a long line at City Hall. Why? What's going on in there?
Well, there are a couple of reasons the lines are long at City Hall. So, one, that is where you go if you need help with your special assistance pass. So, if you make it to the park and you have maybe a child with a physical disability or a mental disability, or you need assistance getting on and off an attraction, or whatever, that you have to go there to get your pass that allows you to use the Disabled Access System, or DAS as we call it. It's also where you go to complain if you had a problem. So if you went to a restaurant and they overcharged you and they refused to give you your money back, or you were injured, or somebody talked badly to you, or you were disappointed about something. And let's face it, folks, there's a lot of things to be disappointed about. At the dollar amount that you're paying, you expect more. So people complain more. Yeah, they have a Disney 100 shield above the register.
It's like going back to your point earlier about complaining your $25 entree isn't edible.
That's right. And people do complain, and they want their money back, or they want to complain about it. And sometimes they say, I don't want money, I want you to fix it. And that's really kind of the best thing.
Some new merchandise.
Interesting. I don't understand what I'm seeing. Do you? What are these?
Their ears
With a
little clipboard with glitter in them as well.
oh.
It's part of the new Walt Disney Studios collection that was released today.
I don't like it. It looks cheap to me. Is it expensive? Sorry, I'm moving around.
I don't find a price on them.
They have lots of new merchandise here. Crazy hats, photo frames, t-shirts, weird bright orange striped shirts with Mickey. Mickey's nice, but the bright stuff isn't. And then a black and white shirt. The reason for that is this is one of the
Whoa.
early decades.
Look at this.
Oh, I
weird-
have to show you this ridiculous piece of merchandise. But first, look at the adorable Minnie Mouse and her Disney 100 logo. I think she's cute. And then they have a Mickey on another display elsewhere in the store. But we have to look at, can you grab one for me, Nathan? Because it's too crowded for me to get over there. And another new set of ears. Right there. Very, very fluffy ears. All right, so we're going to look at a very crazy thing. It's called Disney Eras, which is the earliest line. And just look at this Mickey. That is Mickey Mouse, folks. Tiny itty bitty ears way back on his head, a gigantic nose, weird unshaped mouth. And they have a picture of what Mickey is actually supposed to look like in the corner of the box. But somehow, he came out looking like this.
Very off-model.
Yeah, like Mickey died in the middle of the film and they had to find another mouse to play Mickey. And they just hoped no one would notice once they put the pants on him.
Let's see how much this sucker costs.
How much does it cost?
Any guesses?
I'm going to guess $55.
You're so close. $49.99.
It's technically a phone holder. And there's a Donald Duck towel back there. There's all sorts of course, Spirit jerseys, because the merchandise just sort of repeats itself. So every time there's a new season, it's always plush, mugs, cups, Loungefly bag, new ears. So those kind of things happen over and over and over again. But then there are certain new things that will come along every once in a blue moon. So this is very vintagey looking merchandise here, Nathan. I kind of like that Tinkerbell with the Disneyland logo, the old-fashioned Walt Disney's Disneyland. Come on, that is perfect. Walt Disney's Disneyland. That is what a 100th anniversary is all about. But I just not seeing a lot of that kind of stuff. I did get this hat for Nathan. So he now has the hat with the different lands on it. Sorry, I'm getting out of the store. I'm too crowded. But you come out on the street, it's not too bad. The lines are fairly short. Why are the lines kind of short, Nathan? Because they have set the limit on the number of people that can come into the park fairly low. I think they've done that because there was a lot of media here in the park for the last 3 days. So it's busy, but not crazy. They've definitely lowered the limit. Now we're looking at the Emporium right now. Some of you were asking, how do the windows look? So we're seeing some new Disney 100 windows. All up and down the store, you're seeing new windows. And then right next to that Disney 100 window is the window for Princess and the Frog. And that window is completely blacked out because it is broken. Has been broken for months. Toy Story window was not working yesterday, it's working today.
Hi, baby. Say bye, bud.
Ah. Cinderella window is working. They're dancing away over there. And then over here is the Peter Pan window. They're stationary, so... Oh, no, Wendy's moving. A little bit of movement. There's a bit of movement here, that's good. Wendy is slowly floating. No one else seems to be moving, but Wendy is. Good for you, Wendy. Keep taking your fiber pills. And then over here is the Frozen window. Frozen is completely frozen. So Elsa is frozen.
Letting it go.
She's letting it, well, I can't let this go because they need to fix it already. And then over here, another dark window, and this is for Aladdin. It is broken. Last night they had them lit. You just couldn't see what was, see any motion. Now they're all dark. You can just
The
see
music is
reflection.
going on though.
Hear them?
You can imagine
Or
it
the window that
happening.
you can't see anything in. And we're just going to do a quick acknowledgement here because everything that you're seeing today, the 100th anniversary of Disneyland, the new shows, attractions, 100 years of animated films, all has to do with one very, very important man. And that man, folks, is the man who the company is named after, and that would be Walt Disney. And right there above the fire truck, above the firehouse, is Walt Disney's apartment. An apartment he stayed in countless nights as they were building Disneyland and in those early days to make sure the park was functioning properly. And even though he was running a movie studio, he had the forethought to think that, well, what business are we in? We're not just in the movie business, we're in the entertainment business. And let's entertain families in a new way, and that's how we got Disneyland, folks. So 100 years of magic. Disneyland is not 100 years old, although most of the guests think it is with all these 100-year banners everywhere. But the company's 100 years old, and thank you to Walt Disney. We certainly do think that he was the drop that made the ripple, that created the wave, that made Disney Company really the best-known entertainment company in the world. And with that, folks, I thank you for joining us, and Nathan, and Jeffrey, and Mike, and Matt, and all the other people who helped put this stuff together, and Natalie, who's running around looking at merchandise right now. Thank you to all of my staff, because maybe, who knows, if everything goes just right, in 100 years, we might still be doing these videos for you. We'll see you again real soon, folks. We have some incredible content coming up this weekend, and of course Monday, an epic Monday update with the most gorgeous photos of the Disney 100 celebrations and spectaculars and merchandise and food. It's going to be great, so please check it out. Love you, folks. Thanks for watching. I'll be back with you again real soon.